So an hour ago, at the time I am recording this, Javerman, an admin, made a post called Incoming Balance Changes Round 1. And they are basically listing a ton of balance changes to the game that they are planning to release in the coming days, according to the admins. But knowing the admins, it's probably a week, maybe even a month. Who knows? But I'm just saying they haven't really been trustworthy with deadlines and stuff. But these are going to be coming eventually, so just nice to know beforehand, I guess. So let's start with the gear changes. Bonemerang got a 50 damage nerf, not too big, but pretty sizable. You'll probably feel like maybe a 300, 200 damage nerf inside dungeons. Last Breath got a base stat buff and an ability buff. Now you can reduce defense by up to 50% max. Since most mobs, if they had any defense, they probably had like a ton of defense. So this will probably be an overall buff to Last Breath. Mosquito Bow buff. I don't think anybody used it anyway, so no big deal. Valkyrie got a slight strength buff. Estrella got a significant overall buff. You got some extra damage, some extra defense per Catacombs level, and true defense now. Scylla got a slight buff. Hyperion got a slight nerf in intelligence. 50 intelligence isn't that much of a big deal for ability mages. Hyperion now only gains 1 damage per Catacombs level. Apparently it was bugged to give 2 before. Wither Impact, this is the big nerf for the Necron Blades. Wither Impact has less of a radius, so you won't be able to kill bats in certain places maybe, or clear rooms as fast as before. So maybe prices will drop. Who knows? We'll have to see when in the coming days. Midas Staff now scales more per coin spent at the Dark Auction, and it also has a lower starting damage, so I don't think a 1 mil Midas Staff will be better than Yeti Sword anymore. Then the goggles, the Mage class goggles bought from Ophelia, they will now be additive instead of multiplicative damage buffs. I assume that means additive with ability damage. So unless you're a Chimera Hyperion user with Minos Relic Sheep, I don't think you'll feel any big difference with this, but it's still an overall nerf. Then Reaper Mask, Wither Relic, Silk Edge Sword, and Frozen Blaze all got buffed, or all will be buffed to Legendary. So after over a year, Frozen Blaze finally gets the buff it deserves. Wither Relic will give some more stats. I don't think anybody ever uses these two except for fooling around, so those won't matter that much. Then Tarantula Helmet now gets capped at 100 crit damage. I think this should only affect mid-range archers, since most pro archers use Diamond Necron Head. Most of the lower end archers use like Necron Helmet or Shadow Assassin Helmet, something like that. So certain archers will be affected by this, maybe some berserks too. Skeleton Pet got a buff. I don't think anybody will be using this though. Tiger Pet got an overall nerf. It got some more base ferocity, but it also got nerfed its first perk from 100% to 50%, so that's pretty big. And they also made some changes to Lion. I don't think anybody's going to use this because it's still a foraging pet, and foraging is insanely painful to grind right now. I noticed that they didn't fix mining speed in the park yet, so hopefully they'll add that to this balance change list. Finally, some boss changes, so people won't be one-tapping the bosses anymore. The Magma boss, the dragons, and Stone Protectors, Horsemen. So any damage above 1% of their health is completely nullified, and then they also added some pretty high damage reduction for high amounts of damage. So the point they were trying to make is that lower level players will get more of a chance, but higher level players should still be coming out on top. They also made some catacombs changes, so now each floor has a certain catacombs level requirement. So you can't just buy carries and get catacombs XP fast anymore. You have to actually play dungeons to progress through them, which is, I guess, the intended way to do stuff. And they also made a ton of changes to the essence and dungeon requirements for non-dungeon items. So I'm pretty sure everything on this list was lowered, like the catacombs level requirement, the essence costs, all lowered. So if you want to use some dungeon items inside dungeon, or if you want to use some overworld items inside dungeons, you should be able to do that much more easily now. And finally are some general changes. These are pretty big. So lifesteal got a big nerf. It now heals based on your maximum health instead of the damage you do. Siphon will be heal based on your crit damage instead of, again, the damage you do. So these two will probably be interchangeable. I think most archers and berserks would want to use Siphon. Mages might want to use lifesteal now instead of Siphon. Ferocity will no longer trigger lifesteal or Siphon. So this shouldn't be a big change unless you're a werewolf user in floor 6, in which case this combined with the tiger nerf will probably make your set really bad in floor 6. So you might want to sell your werewolf if you use that. This one is a pretty big change. So mana above your maximum mana will be removed. So that doesn't sound like that bad, but if you use goblin armor with wither cloak sword, that strat doesn't work anymore. So rest in peace, mage soloing floor 6. Wither cloak will now be disabled when you switch armor sets, which in my opinion is kind of a dumb change. Like, it's not like people were abusing this in any way, but that's going to be removed. Wither cloak will also no longer deal damage, so you can't use it to kill bats in trap rooms anymore. You can't use it to AFK farm anymore. Withermancer skulls now have a 10-second lifespan, so they won't stack up and one-shot you in floor 7. So floor 7 should be somewhat easier. Ghosts will be immune to Soul Whip, so Flower of Truth is now the best weapon to farm ghosts, and I think Sorrow armor prices will probably go up. Also, this is a pretty big combat XP method nerf. Rabbit hats will no longer give jump boost on floor 7. Lesser Orb of Healing will finally work in dungeons. It's been like 6 months or something. But this thing will now work. So you might see some more mage healers in the game now. They also removed some AFK methods, so this ties in with the Wither Cloak not dealing damage. I think they might have done something to stop loot drops if you don't move your mouse or something. Maybe. This isn't in the game yet, so I don't know for sure, but that's my theory. They also fixed some powder gain. They also made Spirit Mask work in dungeons. I still wouldn't use the Spirit Mask though, because if you didn't already know, it has a 30-second cooldown and it saves you from death. If you use it and you end up needing it every 30 seconds, you're probably going to end up dying between those, between the cooldown. So I still wouldn't use this item. Fellsword will be fixed, so now it will give the intended healing circle buff. I'm pretty sure it used to give like double instead of plus 10%. So that should work as intended now, and it will also reduce the wish cooldown. Class milestones will be removed from the Catacombs entrance. No big deal if you already beat the entrance. And Spirit Pet will work if the pet isn't selected, so much like the Grandma Wolf. And that is everything. If you want to see the changes for yourself, I will leave this post linked in the description. And yeah, that's everything. I will see you in the next video.